welcome back. For those of you who have never met me before, or maybe you are new to this myofunctional therapy rabbit hole, I welcome you. It's a very deep hole, I will tell you that. My name is Carmen Woodland. I am the host of the Myo Minute. I am also an orofacial myofunctional therapist with a very large global virtual myofunctional therapy practice. So my team and I work with people around the world on snoring, sleep apnea concerns, airway concerns, nutrition and digestive, basically wellness. That's our biggest thing. That's our sweet spot, is people who don't feel good and they want to feel better. And perhaps you have been sent to me by somebody who says, hey, you have sleep apnea, or hey, you snore, then I'm your gal, because that's our specialty. I have been breaking the topic of sleep apnea down into smaller bite-sized pieces, and today I'm talking about the health risks of snoring and sleep apnea. This is huge, and this is something that I talk about ad nauseum, and so many people just don't think that sleep apnea is a big deal. In fact, fun fact, I overheard at the gym the other day as I was leaving. There were two older ladies talking in the parking lot. And I heard one lady say, well, my husband got diagnosed with sleep apnea and the treatment is as expensive as taking a trip. And I really wanted to stop and say, with all due respect, that treatment is probably going to prolong and improve the quality of his life. But it was just an eye-opener to me that people just don't know. Doctors don't educate on it as much as they should, although they're getting better because it's becoming more mainstream. People are starting to put out a lot of research, and people are really advocates of airway and wellness, and we're starting to really talk with parents to prevent it in kiddos so we don't have adults to fix, and that would be ideal. If we fixed all the problems with kids, then we wouldn't have adults with problems. The problem, I think, with the untreated sleep apnea is doctors sometimes will identify it and they don't know what to do with it. I had a little girl in Toronto not too long ago who was diagnosed with sleep apnea, and I said, so how are you treating it? And the mom says, they told us we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, so this is going to be short and sweet. So what happens with untreated sleep apnea? You guys, your body and your brain need oxygen. When there is a lack of oxygen, negative long-term consequences can be found. Sleep apnea is a serious condition, and left untreated can have serious and fatal consequences. So I always tell people it is the most expensive chronic degenerative disease there is right now. It is at epidemic crisis levels. Okay, so I'm going to run down these symptoms. Okay, this is not all of them. Stroke, heart disease, high blood pressure. The thing about high blood pressure is 50% of people who have high blood pressure have sleep apnea. So if we were to go away from the silo mentality of the Western medicine mainstream thinking, one would say it would make sense if you get diagnosed with sleep apnea, it would make sense to screen you for high blood pressure. If you got diagnosed with high blood pressure, it would make sense to screen you for sleep apnea. Okay, we would catch a lot there. So reportedly 80 to 90% of people who have sleep apnea or sleep disordered breathing are undiagnosed. So these people just think that's how they are. Oh, I've snored since I was a baby. Oh, that happens because I need to lose some weight. I talked about this in the last episode, but when I Googled what causes sleep apnea, the first thing that popped up was weight. So if we continue that narrative that's wrong, people are only going to think that sleep apnea happens to people who have extra weight on, which, yes, while that may be a piece of it, but I have handfuls after handfuls of clients who have sleep apnea who are thin, and they're in fact really thin. They're just not well. So that's a little tangent about high blood pressure. The same thing goes for prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Again, these go hand in hand. So if we're catching somebody who has diabetes, Have they been screened for sleep apnea, or vice versa? I can't tell you how many times I have looked at somebody in my chair when I was still in hygiene, and I could look at their body type. Yes, they were a little bit heavier set. Yes, I could look at the structures in the mouth. And I could ask them, do you have sleep apnea? Do you have sleep apnea? And the funny thing is I was damn good at having the conversations with the people who needed to hear it, because so many people would say, yeah, I do. Or yeah, I suspect it. So I think that's really helpful. Now, metabolic syndrome. And so I get asked a lot how my certification as a nutrition therapy practitioner ties into my world of myofunctional therapy. Well, this is why, because metabolic issues, blood sugar regulation, hormone issues, those are all a piece of the puzzle with sleep, okay? And so I meld the two together, and that's how I get clients feeling like $1 million. We work on a lot of different things. So metabolic syndrome is an issue. Depression and anxiety is huge. It saddens me to say I'm working with my youngest client ever who is being medicated for both anxiety and depression, and she's 5, you guys. The sad thing is nobody had screened her for a tongue tie, and nobody had screened her for sleep disordered breathing. She's 5. And that's where I get really pissed and fired up, is because who's being the voice for these kids that have no idea? Who is educating these parents who have no idea? That's why I get so frustrated. Some more consequences, some more complications can be liver problems, complications with medications and surgery, sleep deprived partners. You guys think that this only affects you, but it affects the person laying in the bed next to you. And quite often it affects people throughout the household. Not too long ago, I visited my lovely sister, and I slept in the next room, and I could hear her sweetie shaking the walls. And my first thought was, how does she get any sleep? How does he not get any sleep? I know that he doesn't feel rested a lot, but my thought was, how does she sleep next to that? And the funny thing is she was so used to it, and she was just so used to her subpar sleeping, or perhaps she medicates to sleep sometimes, that it wasn't a big deal. So it really affects other people. We can see hyperactivity and behavioral issues. So again, going back to those kiddos, I have worked with kiddos that are really naughty, that have been suspended and spend more time out of school than in school, who they make irrational decisions, that kind of stuff. And when we dig and we get into the meat and potatoes of why, then we start uncovering these answers. So it's not just embracing your kiddo and saying, oh, Johnny's just a little bit naughty, but why? What's going on? There's cognitive problems. There's growth issues. I talk about this a lot too. It's not just that middle-aged fat man with a big neck. It's those skinny, scrawny peeps of kids or people who are just not growing well. And then the last thing I'm going to close with here, like I said, this list is not all-inclusive. But one thing at the last minute I added on here was chronic pain. So many of my clients are chronic pain people. And so they have anxiety and depression. Life really stinks when everything hurts, okay? But pain, good sleep is a modulator of pain, so it helps manage the pain. So if you took 2 people, the same injury, and somebody's sleeping and somebody is not, the person who's not sleeping is going to have more pain. So some of my clients didn't even know that dealing with their pain was a possibility by dealing with their sleep. And it's really sad to me. So we are a great industry at throwing a pharmaceutical at everything, but we're not great at getting past that silo mentality and looking for the root of the root of the root. And that's what I do. So if this is you, if you found yourself resonating or shaking your head going, yeah, or you know somebody who needs this information, share it. The first place to start it is an exam. Lots of people email me and say, I want to work with you. Where do I start? That's the first place. We do the exam, we make a roadmap. Who do we need first? Who needs to be on first? Who needs to be on second? Who needs to be on third? That type of thing. So I call that the comprehensive healthcare team. You guys, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It is not a just do one thing, check the box and move on. Okay. We're talking your life, your wellness, your vibrancy. Okay. So it's really important to embrace that, know that you're worth it, and I'm the place to start. So I hope that's helpful. I'm going to let you go. I will be back next time with another hot topic. Bye for now.